Hello and welcome to Mad About Superheroes Cartoon Showcase. Thanks for joining me in my ongoing quest to bring meaning back to Saturday mornings. The way I achieve a temporary state of zen is to take a nostalgia trip to the way back when. Today we're going to revisit one of my favorite episodes of the classic Hanna-Barbera Super Friends cartoon series, more specifically, Seeds of Doom. The first episode in the final season of the very long-running Super Friends cartoon series, which underwent yet another title change, from Legendary Superpowers Team to Superpowers Team Galactic Guardians. The debut episode, Seeds of Doom, introduces the DC Comics character Cyborg. Written by Alan Burnett, who also wrote personal favorite episodes The Fear, which featured the first time Batman's origin was told outside the DC Comics,
Mommy! Daddy! No!
and The Death of Superman, which I featured on a previous cartoon showcase. Burnett went on to write several episodes of the revered Batman the Animated Series. Cyborg Victor Stone was created by writer Marv Wolfman and artist George Perez for DC Comics and first appeared in an insert preview in DC Comics Presents number 26. Originally known as a member of the Teen Titans, Cyborg was later established as a founding member of the Justice League in DC's 2011 reboot dubbed The New 52. His inclusion in the 2016 Justice League live-action film reflects his origin and inclusion in the Justice League in The New 52. But the idea of Cyborg fighting alongside Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman originated back in 1985 on the Superpowers Team Galactic Guardians cartoon series. Robin has always been a favorite superhero of mine, and that all started with the Super Friends cartoon series and the Batman 1966 television series. Casey Kasem's long tenure as the voice of Robin on the Super Friends and Burt Ward's performance as the Boy Wonder had a lasting effect on me. I began following Robin in the Batman DC Comics, and I really enjoyed his hero's journey. Dick Grayson transitioning from orphan acrobat into Batman sidekick Robin, later becoming the leader of the Teen Titans, and eventually becoming the adult superhero Nightwing. The new Teen Titans comics was my introduction to Cyborg, and his first appearance on the Superpowers team was in close relation to my start of collecting Teen Titans comics. Although I'll admit, I prefer Cyborg as a Teen Titan. Nevertheless, his inclusion in the Superpowers team is still very enjoyable.
We now return to the Superpowers team.
Cyborg and his young friend are enjoying a walk through the park when suddenly a giant spider-like mechanical monstrosity wreaks havoc on the city of Metropolis. The cybernetic spider is piloted by none other than the villainous Lex Luthor. Cyborg leaps up and away, carrying his young friend out of danger. As Luthor continues to terrorize the city, the Superpowers team arrive on the scene, which is just what Lex was hoping for, a chance to put his cybernetic spider to the test against his greatest foes. His metallic menace snares Superman in a kryptonite net.
Superman!
Cyborg decides to get in on the action. Though Luthor's cybernetic spider was a handful for the Superpowers team, Cyborg single-handedly takes down Lex and his new toy. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Firestorm are impressed by Cyborg's skills, and the Man of Steel invites Cyborg to become a member of their team.
Thanks, but no thanks. You guys take the credit for this. I've got to pick up a friend.
Firestorm, who's about the same age as Cyborg, is puzzled by Cyborg's membership decline. Meanwhile, Darkseid's paradrones spread seed pods all over the world, just the latest in many schemes perpetrated by the Lord of Apocalypse. Darkseid's son, Kalibak, volunteers to plant the final seed in Metropolis himself. Firestorm splits in two, reverting back to his alter egos, Professor Stein and Ronald Raymond. The professor gives Ronald some insight into Cyborg's past.
Once Victor Stone, a promising decathlon athlete, until a terrible accident damaged most of his body. Fortunately, Vic's father was a cybernetics genius. He saved his son's life.
Ronald is determined to convince Cyborg to become a Superpowers team member, and he pays him a visit. Cyborg's enhanced hearing matches Ronald's voice to Firestorm's. So much for secret identities. As Ronald tries to convince Cyborg to join the Superpowers team, the duo observe Kalibak planting the final seed at a construction site. After a quick change back into Firestorm, the duo attempt to stop Kalibak. Kalibak is no match for the combined might of Cyborg and Firestorm, and he retreats back to Apocalypse through a Stargate. The duo spot one of the seeds, and Firestorm alerts the rest of the Superpowers team. but the seed is activated and its quickly growing tentacles entrap Firestorm and Cyborg.
Superpowers team! Help!
Before the Children of the Atom became household names courtesy of the blockbuster film franchise, they headlined their very own hit cartoon series. From best-selling comic book of all time to highly rated animated series, the X-Men explode off the pages of their monthly comics and onto the small screen. Take a nostalgia trip back to the early 90s with Mad About Superheroes Cartoon Showcase, and revisit the very first episode of X-Men in Night of the Sentinels. Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue, and the rest of the team save a young mutant, Jubilee, from deadly sentinels. Now showing on Mad About Superheroes, X-Men, Night of the Sentinels Cartoon Showcase. Superman quickly responds and makes short work of the tentacles, rescuing Firestorm and Cyborg. They regroup at the Hall of Justice. While they are contemplating their next move, they are contacted by Darkseid himself. He reveals the destructive nature of the seeds. Planted all over the Earth, they will devastate the planet. If the Superpowers team pledge allegiance to Darkseid, he will reveal the locations of the seeds. The Superpowers team have 3 hours before the seeds erupt, and they plan to put that time to good use. Cyborg, Firestorm, and Wonder Woman head to Apokolips under the ruse that the Superpowers team is prepared to bow to Darkseid's demands. Using Darkseid's attraction to Wonder Woman as a distraction, Cyborg and Firestorm sneak around Darkseid's palace to find his computer room to hack the system. Unfortunately, they are interrupted by a troop of paradrones. Cyborg and Firestorm make a good team and quickly defeat them.
Stand back, Firestorm!
Now to turn that gusher into glue!
Not bad!
They locate the computer room. Darkseid's loyal lackey Desaad spots the duo and tries to make a break for it. Firestorm turns the quivering coward into stone.
My clothes! He's turned them into stone!
Now, to interface with this computer.
Cyborg hacks the system and transmits the location of the seeds to the Hall of Justice. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman stalls for more time. Darkseid tries to renegotiate terms. For the high price of Wonder Woman becoming his bride, he'll agree to postpone the seed's eruptions. Fortunately for Wonder Woman, the jig is up. The Amazon no longer has to subject herself to Darkseid's advances, and she fights her way through his forces. Meanwhile, Cyborg and Firestorm stumble upon a room filled with seeds. Before they can destroy the seeds, Darkseid and Kalibak interfere. Darkseid unleashes his deadly Omega beams. Cyborg accesses a frequency that rapidly sprouts the seeds in front of Darkseid and his son, and they are attacked by the tentacles unleashed from within the pods. Cyborg and Firestorm reunite with Wonder Woman and they make a quick getaway.
Let's get out of here before we become platforms!
The Superpowers team gather up all the seeds from around the world. Superman throws all the seeds into the sun, thwarting yet another of Darkseid's plans to conquer Earth and defeat the Superpowers team. Having made a significant difference and making a powerful new enemy in Darkseid, Cyborg decides to become a member of the Superpowers team. The late great Danny Dark expertly voices Superman. Dark was the voice of Superman for 12 years, the entire run of the Super Friends series. From 1973 to 1985. Most impressive. Dark, in my opinion, is the definitive voice of the Man of Steel. Betty Jean Ward as Wonder Woman. Some may recall her as the voice of Scarlet on G.I. Joe. Mark Taylor as Ronald Raymond, Firestorm. And Ulan Sool as Professor Stein. Sool formerly provided the voice of Batman, until the Bright Knight himself, Adam West, took over as the Caped Crusader. From Ghostbusters fame, Ernie Hudson voices Cyborg. Frank Welker pulls triple duty as Darkseid, Kalibak, and the Paradrones. Frank Welker voiced tons of characters from various cartoons for decades. Personal favorites are Iceman on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and Megatron on Transformers. The legendary opening theme song was composed by Hoyt Curtin, who also provided music for other Hanna-Barbera cartoons, such as The Jetsons, Johnny Quest, and Josie and the Pussycats, to name a few. Any version of the Super Friends theme is instantly recognizable. Once hearing it, you'll be humming it for hours after the fact. DC Comics produced a line of Superpowers comics, but I believe it was more of a cross-promotion with the Kenner toy line than the Superpowers Team Galactic Guardians cartoon series. Many issues of the Superpowers comic series were illustrated by Jack the King Kirby. Kirby was not only the co-creator of Captain America, Fantastic Four, and the Incredible Hulk, among many others for Marvel Comics, he also created the New Gods for DC Comics, most notably the ultimate villain, Darkseid. To say the least, the popularity of these two DC Comics icons has endured throughout the decades. Though they have completely different crime-fighting methods, they ultimately share the same goals, making them a very dynamic duo. Superman and Batman inevitably cross over into each other's various comic book titles over the years, becoming the world's finest superheroes, and eventually join the Justice League of America. It's hard to believe that with the mega success of Superman the movie in 1978, that DC and Warner Brothers couldn't get it together to get a Batman film off the ground until over a decade later. It's even more surprising that they couldn't get it together to feature these two superhero icons in one film, especially after the mega success of Batman in 1989. 40 years worth of missed opportunity for DC and Warner Brothers. They could have beat the MCU to the punch decades ago, and they blew it big time.
You blew it!
Mad About Superheroes presents Comic Book Movie Flashback Double Feature, Superman the Movie 1978 and Batman 1989. I've said it before and I'll say it again. No cartoon series is complete without a toy line, and Superpowers by Kenner is one of the 80s best. The Kenner Superpowers toy line featured dozens of heroes and villains. The Cyborg figure wasn't released until the final wave and had a limited number of figures released, making it a rare and sought-after figure by toy collectors, fetching high prices on eBay and other online sites. As mentioned, Cyborg first appeared as a member of the New Teen Titans, and a proper Source-inspired animated series wouldn't come to fruition until 2005. The Cartoon Network Teen Titans managed to be kid-friendly while telling mature storylines that paid homage to the DC Comics it was based on, especially its inclusion of the villainous Slade, aka Deathstroke, and Terra, who befriends and joins the Titans, but is really working with Slade. Raven's father Trigon and their storyline is also a personal favorite that was also inspired by the source material. I believe the now classic Cyborg catchphrase, "Booyah," originated on the original Teen Titans cartoon series and was incorporated into the aforementioned 2016 Justice League movie.
Booyah.
Though fellow Teen Titans members Cyborg and Robin both appeared in Galactic Guardian Superpowers team, unfortunately the duo never really interacted. Though it was a missed opportunity for sure, Cyborg's pairing with Firestorm works just as well. For 12 years, Hanna-Barbera followed the dated 1970s logic that led them to continuously insert kid characters into Super Friends, specifically created to be representations of their young audience, as if we couldn't relate otherwise. It took Hanna-Barbera almost 2 decades to finally introduce actual teen superheroes from the DC Comics, such as Firestorm and Cyborg, into the Super Friends cartoon series, which, to be honest, are much cooler characters than Wendy and Marvin or the Wonder Twins. If I'm going to be pandered to, at least make the characters cool. We already had Robin from the beginning. Did we really need these posers? Hanna-Barbera has a history of trying to inject diversity into the Super Friends: Apache Chief, Samurai, El Dorado, etc. Though these characters are dated stereotypes, they were at least well-meaning attempts at diversity. While these were more characters specifically created by Hanna-Barbera for the Super Friends cartoon series, Cyborg originated in the DC Comics The New Teen Titans, and his debut in the cartoon series utilizes elements from his rich backstory, his volunteer work with disabled children, his reluctance to join a team of superheroes, as well as the accident and procedure that transformed him into Cyborg. Unlike his diverse aforementioned counterparts, Cyborg is much more than the color of his skin. The Super Friends cartoon series started during the 1970s and ended in the mid-1980s. Galactic Guardian Superpowers team was a long overdue attempt at growing up along with its audience by upping the stakes and telling more character-driven stories, a bit more in line with their comic book counterparts. And Seeds of Doom is a pretty good step in that direction. This Cyborg-centric episode was requested by loyal channel subscriber Harvey McElroy. Thanks for the support, pal. This one's for you. I'd also like to give a shout out to another loyal subscriber and supporter of the channel, Anthony Chobot. Anthony has a YouTube channel, Anthony Chobot Does Pop Culture and Openings. Anthony just got to 100 subscribers, and he's on the road to 200 subs. Good luck, pal. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Cartoon Showcase. If you'd like to rewatch or catch up on previous episodes of Cartoon Showcase, links will be provided at the very end of the video, so please stay tuned. Thanks so much for letting your geek flags fly with Mad About Superheroes. For more episodes of Cartoon Showcase, click the playlist in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And for more Super Friends content, click one of these other links. Thanks again for letting your geek flags fly with Mad About Superheroes.